My brother leaked my nudes to his friends as a joke, so I took legal action and made sure he never had privacy again. I'm a 24-year-old woman, and I've always been the invisible one in my family. My older brother Tyler, he was the golden child. From the moment we were kids, he had this effortless charm. Straight A student, star soccer player, the kind of boy that made moms at school say, "Wow, your son is just amazing." My parents soaked it up like sunlight. Every school award, every sports trophy, every compliment from a neighbor, they held it up like a mirror to their own greatness. And then there was me. I was the sensitive one, the dramatic one, the one who always had too many feelings. I remember once at age 8, Tyler pushed me down the stairs during a game of tag. I cracked my chin open and needed stitches. My mom said, "You shouldn't play rough with boys if you can't handle it," while she dabbed at the blood on my face. Tyler got a cookie for apologizing. I got told to be tougher. That became the pattern. Tyler would tease, push, break things, invade my space, and I'd get blamed for reacting. I started keeping my door locked. Started keeping quiet. I learned fast. Crying only proved their point. So I stopped crying, but the silence didn't protect me either. It just made me disappear more. In high school, when he spread rumors about a boy I liked, they said, "He's just looking out for you." When I caught him reading my diary and told my parents, they laughed and said, "He's just being a brother." By the time I turned 18, I wasn't just hurt by Tyler. I was hollowed out by the way my parents refused to see me. They didn't know it then, but all that blindness. It was building something inside me, something that would wake up the day he finally crossed the line. And when he did, I didn't just break. I lit a fuse. It started at a family BBQ. Nothing dramatic, just a sunny Saturday afternoon, cheap plastic chairs on our patchy backyard lawn, burgers sizzling on the grill. Tyler had invited a few of his college friends, all loud voices and backward caps, guys I barely acknowledged anymore. I stayed polite, smiled when spoken to, and mostly kept my head down. But one of them, a tall guy named Zach, smirked at me in this weird, knowing way. When I walked past him with a plate of chips, he leaned in and said, "Nice photo, by the way." His voice dropped just enough to feel off. I froze. "What photo?" I asked, but he just laughed and walked away. It bothered me all night. I hadn't posted anything recently. My socials were locked down, private, scrubbed clean after a toxic ex. I felt this itch in my brain and something was wrong. The next day I got added to a group chat on Instagram, completely out of the blue. No intro, no warning, just a ping, and then boom. There I was. It was a bunch of Tyler's friends. And the first thing I saw when I opened it was a message from him. A picture of me. A nude. One I'd taken months ago, saved in my private gallery, never sent to anyone. The caption read, "LMAO, my sis is wild." I stared at it so long I forgot how to blink. The chat was full of reactions, laughing emojis, crude comments, even one guy joking, "Bro, that's next level sick." And Tyler, he was loving it. Throwing in more photos, screenshots, zoom-ins. I felt like my soul had been yanked out and pinned to a wall. And the worst part? They were still talking, still laughing, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat on my bed shaking, staring at my phone screen until the image burned into my mind. My own brother, my flesh and blood, had done this. And somehow I knew deep down my parents wouldn't believe me. But I had to try. The next morning I confronted him. He was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through TikTok like nothing happened. "Why would you do that, Tyler?" My voice cracked. He looked up, smirked. "Do what?" "You sent my pictures to your friends." He laughed. Not nervous laughter and mocking laughter. "Oh my God, you're so dramatic." It was a joke. "Chill out, a joke." He called it a joke. When I yelled that it wasn't funny, that he'd crossed every line imaginable, he rolled his eyes. "Maybe don't take pictures like that if you don't want anyone to see them." His words sliced deeper than the betrayal itself. I stormed into the kitchen, tears streaming, and told my parents everything. My mom froze mid-stir, spoon clattering against the pot. My dad rubbed his forehead like I'd just confessed to something shameful. "He didn't mean it that way," Mom finally said. "You know how boys can be." "Are you kidding me?" I snapped. "He violated me." My dad's voice hardened. "Lower your tone. This family doesn't need drama." I couldn't breathe. I looked at Tyler standing in the doorway, arms folded, smirking like he'd already won. My mom's final words sealed it. Let's just forget about it, okay? No need to ruin things over a silly mistake. That night, lying in bed, I realized something gut-wrenching. I wasn't just alone. I was erased, and if they wouldn't protect me, I'd have to learn how to protect myself, even if it meant going to war with my own family. The next morning, I woke up with a single, sharp thought: document everything. If no one was going to believe me, then I had to build a case that couldn't be ignored. I started with the group chat. Screenshots of Tyler's messages, the pictures he shared, the reactions. I backed them up in multiple places: cloud storage, a hidden USB, even emailed copies to myself under a vague subject line. My hands were shaking the entire time, but I forced myself to move methodically. I couldn't afford a single mistake. Then I remembered the private gallery on my phone, the one where the photos were saved. He had no way of accessing it unless he'd physically used my phone. And then it hit me. 2 months ago, I had left my phone charging in the kitchen while I was showering. I'd caught him messing with it that day, but he brushed it off, saying he was just checking the time. My stomach turned. I pulled up the file history. There it was. The timestamp showed the exact minute the photo was last opened, right during that window. I took a picture of the screen with another device. No way I was letting anything be tampered with. Still, a voice in my head kept whispering, "Who's going to believe you?" I opened Google and started searching. Revenge porn laws in my state. Can family members be charged? Digital evidence legality. I found a hotline for victims of online abuse. I called. A calm woman named Andrea listened as I choked out everything. She didn't laugh. She didn't doubt. She said, "What he did is not just cruel. It's illegal." For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of control return. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't being dramatic. I was a victim of a crime, and I was done staying silent. A few days later, I got a message on Instagram. The name made my chest tighten. Nate Reynolds. One of Tyler's college friends. He was in the group chat. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. "Hey, I don't think you'll want to hear from me, but I need to say something." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "Go on." He told me he hadn't laughed, that he didn't even respond in the chat. He said he didn't know what to do at the time, that Tyler had acted like it was funny, just some stupid thing, but something about it felt wrong. He bragged about getting into your phone, Nate wrote. Said you left it unlocked while showering. He said it like he was proud of it. The words felt like glass in my throat. He continued, offering to write a statement. Said he didn't want to be part of it anymore. I didn't trust him entirely, not yet, but I believed him. His messages didn't feel performative. They felt like guilt. Would you be willing to put this in writing? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Yes, I'll send it tonight. True to his word, he emailed me a short document, typed and signed. It detailed what Tyler said, how he got the photos, and how he distributed them as a joke to multiple people. I read it over and over again, heart pounding with a mix of rage and relief. This wasn't just me spiraling anymore. It was real. It was documented, and now I had a witness. The storm hadn't passed, but for the first time, I felt the wind shift in my favor, armed with the screenshots, timestamps, Nate's statement, and a growing pit of resolve in my chest. I decided to try one last time to get my parents to listen. I didn't want to involve the police without at least giving them the chance to do the right thing, even though part of me already knew how this would go. I waited until Sunday dinner, when we were all at the table. I placed my phone in front of them and said, "Before you say anything, just look." My dad glanced at the screen. My mom's eyes flicked to it, then back to me. I swiped through the chat logs, the group comments, the screenshots of Tyler's messages, then I opened Nate's statement. Silence. I have proof, I said softly. He accessed my phone without consent. He shared private photos of me. That's a crime now. I looked it up. My mom's face turned pale. My dad sighed deeply, rubbing the bridge of his nose like I had just told him the car needed repairs. Sweetheart, my mom finally said, you don't want to ruin your brother's life over this. He's your brother. I'm your daughter, I said, my voice shaking. What about my life? My dad pushed his chair back. the legs scraping loud against the tile. This is not a court. This is a family. We handle things privately. You mean we cover things up? I snapped. Like we always do. Tyler walked in mid-conversation, smirking like he already knew what was happening. Still whining? I looked each of them in the eyes one by one. I'm going to the police, I said. Whether you support me or not. My mom started crying. My dad called me selfish. Tyler laughed. I walked out that night with my evidence, my silence shattered, and the last fragile thread between us officially cut. The next morning, I sat in my car outside the police station for nearly an hour, hands trembling against the steering wheel. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked foreign, pale, hollow-eyed, but determined. When I finally walked inside, I expected dismissal or laughter. Instead, the officer at the desk looked me straight in the eye and said, "You did the right thing coming here." They took my statement carefully, documenting every screenshot, every message, every timestamp. I handed over a USB with all the evidence, plus Nate's written statement. The detective, a woman named Sergeant Lawson, listened without interruption. When I finished, she said, "This is textbook unlawful distribution of private images. It doesn't matter that he's your brother. The law doesn't make exceptions for family." That sentence, "The law doesn't make exceptions for family," hit me like oxygen. A case was opened that day. They subpoenaed Tyler's phone records, social media accounts, and messaging logs. Within a week, he knew, and chaos exploded. He came to my apartment that evening, pounding on my door until my neighbors called security. "You're trying to ruin my life," he shouted through the wood. "You think anyone's going to take you seriously? You're a psycho!" His voice cracked with panic. For the first time, he was the one losing control. Then came the phone calls from my parents, voicemails full of guilt and manipulation. "He's just a kid," my mom sobbed. "He didn't understand." "He's 22, I replied in a text I never sent. 2 weeks later, Sergeant Lawson called me again. "Your brother's case qualifies under the new state law," she said. "The one that criminalizes digital sexual privacy violations. It's serious." For a moment, I couldn't speak. The same system that ignored me my whole life was now standing beside me, and this time, my voice was loud enough to echo. The day Tyler's university emailed him about his suspension, he lost it. I only knew because he posted a rant online, some pathetic angry status about cancel culture and family traitors. A few of his friends commented with fake sympathy, others just disappeared. I guess even they had limits. I didn't reach out. I was done playing the quiet sister. What I didn't expect was the backlash from my extended family. An aunt called me at work, whispering like she was delivering state secrets. "Sweetheart, I understand how you feel, but airing things publicly, it's not the way we do things." "I didn't do anything wrong," I said. "He did. But he's your brother. Family should stay united." United in silence, maybe. My parents stopped speaking to me entirely. No texts, no calls. Just the deafening void that comes when people choose to protect comfort over truth. I moved out of the apartment I'd been renting near them and got a new place across town, smaller but peaceful. I changed my locks. Changed my number. It felt like shedding a skin I'd outgrown. Then, one night, I got a message from Tyler. "You're dead to me." I stared at it for a long time. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. That was the moment I realized I wasn't grieving anymore. I wasn't clinging to the illusion of family that had been drilled into me since childhood. Blood didn't mean loyalty. Shared last names didn't mean safety. They had chosen him, so I finally chose me. I curled up on my new couch, wrapped in a blanket of silence, and for the first time in years, I slept without waking up in panic, but I knew this wasn't the end. Not even close, the real war was just beginning. The court date came faster than I expected. I thought I'd be ready. I had the evidence, the statements, the law on my side. But nothing could have prepared me for what it would feel like to stand in that courtroom, across from my brother, surrounded by people who still didn't see the full weight of what he did. He didn't look at me once. Sat there in a suit like he was the victim of some injustice. His lawyer leaned into the mic and started spinning a story so twisted it made me feel like I was floating outside my own body. They argued I had taken the photos voluntarily, that I was reckless with my privacy, that Tyler had merely found them and shared them without malicious intent. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat still, fingernails digging into my palms so hard I nearly bled. When it was my turn to speak, my mouth went dry. I looked at the judge, the jurors, the silent spectators, and suddenly, it all felt massive. Like I was this tiny girl again, trying to make adults hear her. I didn't consent, I began, voice trembling. I never shared those pictures with anyone. They were private. And he knew that. He broke into my phone and then he laughed while violating me. My voice cracked and I saw a few jurors shift in their seats. One of them, an older woman, gave me the smallest nod like she was silently saying, I believe you. But when I walked out of that courtroom afterward, I didn't feel strong. I felt humiliated, drained, like I'd dragged every wound I had out into the open, and people were still deciding whether it mattered. That night, I sat in the shower, knees pulled to my chest. Water running cold, this was my lowest point, and even then, I still wasn't sure justice would come. I got the call on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at work, barely focused, just staring at my screen like I had been every day since the hearing. When I saw the number pop up, the one from the courthouse, my breath caught in my throat. Hi, this is Sergeant Lawson. I just wanted you to know. The judge ruled in your favor. I didn't say anything. I couldn't, she continued, voice steady, almost warm. Your brother has been found guilty of unlawfully distributing private, explicit material. The courts ordered him to pay restitution, attend a mandated rehabilitation program, and he'll carry a misdemeanor charge on his record. A sound left my mouth. Not quite relief. Not quite joy. Just release, like a weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying finally slipped off my shoulders. I thanked her, hung up, and just sat there. Everything around me blurred. People moved, printers hummed, phones rang, but I was in a different world, one where I was finally believed, finally seen. Later that evening, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, watching my own reflection like I didn't fully recognize her. The woman staring back looked exhausted, but stronger, like she'd been through a fire and didn't burn, just hardened. I didn't text my parents. Didn't call Tyler. I owed them nothing. This win wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability. It was about standing up to someone who'd violated me and to a family that enabled him. But I knew Tyler, and I knew this wasn't the end. He wouldn't let go. Not quietly. Not easily. Still, for the first time, the law had spoken for me, not against me, and that changed everything. Weeks passed. The dust from the court ruling started to settle, at least on the surface. But I knew Tyler wouldn't stay quiet for long. I'd grown up watching him manipulate his way out of every consequence. This time he couldn't, and that made him dangerous. Sure enough, late one night I got a message from a burner Instagram account. No name, no profile picture, just a DM that said, "Still attention seeking, huh?" Then another, "Your face is all over now. Hope it was worth it." I blocked it, but more came. Different names, same tone, cowardly, cruel. I knew it was him, or someone doing it for him. He couldn't legally touch me now, so he was trying to haunt me online. That's when I made a decision. If he wanted to play with fire, I'd build the bonfire myself. I started a blog, anonymously at first. I wrote about digital violation, about how betrayal feels when it comes from the people who are supposed to protect you. I didn't name names, just initials, timelines, facts. But I told the truth. And it caught on. People started sharing it. Women messaged me, and strangers, friends of friends, even old classmates, saying, "This happened to me too." Some were victims of strangers. Others? Of brothers, fathers, boyfriends. I wasn't alone, and neither were they. Then, one night I posted an entry titled, "When the Golden Child Gets Away with Everything Until He Doesn't." It went viral. Within days, Tyler's name was being whispered again. His internship dropped him. A tech startup he'd applied to quietly rescinded their offer. Suddenly, the boy who once laughed at violating my privacy had no place to hide his own. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because he made me feel powerless. Now, I was taking the narrative back, one post at a time. The day Tyler sent me a cease and desist letter, I laughed for the first time in weeks. It arrived by email, formal language, legal threats, a warning to cease slandering his character or face consequences. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer. She replied in 5 minutes flat, You've violated no laws. You've named no one. He's bluffing. So I kept writing. But Tyler didn't stop. He tried to rally sympathy online, posting cryptic messages about being betrayed by blood and the lies people tell when they want attention. His few remaining friends commented with sad face emojis. One even messaged me saying, "He's going through a lot. Maybe ease up." I replied with one sentence. Tell him to stop harassing women. Because here's the thing, I wasn't the only one. After the blog blew up, I started hearing whispers. Girls who knew Tyler from high school, from college, from parties. Quiet voices that all carried the same edge. He did something similar to me. He crossed a line. I was scared to say anything. I started collecting statements. With consent. With caution. Some wanted their stories shared anonymously. Others were ready to speak. One girl sent me screenshots of Tyler threatening her when she tried to break up with him. Another had recordings. It wasn't just a pattern. It was a trail. A local journalist reached out, curious about the blog. We talked on background. I shared what I could. She said, "You're not the only person who's ever taken a stand like this. But it's rare that someone sees it through." She asked if she could write a piece. I said yes, under one condition, no more initials. No more anonymity. For the first time, I put my real name on my story, because shame belongs to the person who caused the harm, not the one who survived it. The article dropped on a Thursday morning. Within hours, my phone exploded. Texts, emails, comment notifications. Some messages were from strangers thanking me. Others were from women telling me they finally felt seen. But of course, not all of it was support. One comment read, "You're just doing this for attention." Another, "What kind of sister destroys her own family like this?" It stung even though I expected it. Because part of me still craved something I'd never had, understanding. Not validation from strangers, but from them. My parents. The people who were supposed to know me best, I didn't reach out. But they did. My mom showed up at my door, eyes swollen, holding a grocery bag like that would somehow fix the years of silence. "Can we talk?" she asked, barely above a whisper. I let her in. She sat on the edge of my couch, looking smaller than I remembered. "It's all over the internet," she said, voice cracking. "The neighbors are asking questions. People at church are talking." I said nothing, just waited. Then she said it, the phrase that made my blood run cold. "Can't you just take it down now?" "He's suffered enough," I laughed. Not loudly, bitterly. "Did you ever once ask if I suffered?" She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "You all made me feel invisible my entire life. And now that your golden boy is finally facing the consequences, suddenly I'm the one hurting the family?" Tears welled up in her eyes. But I didn't offer comfort. "Not this time. I'm not erasing myself again to make things easier for you," I said. "You can either see the truth now or keep pretending. But I'm done begging to be heard." She left in silence, and I didn't cry after she was gone. The turning point came from a stranger. A girl named Marissa messaged me through my blog's contact form. She was 17. Her stepbrother had taken pictures of her without consent. Nothing explicit, but invasive. When she told her parents, they grounded her, said she was causing tension. Her message ended with, "Reading your story made me feel less crazy. Thank you." That one line stuck in my chest like a stone. Over the next few weeks, more messages poured in. Stories from women, girls, even a few men, all victims of digital violation or family betrayal, some too scared to speak, some just needing to be heard. I started documenting them. Not to publish, but to understand. That's when the idea came. A petition. I reached out to a nonprofit that focuses on digital rights. They agreed to help. We launched a formal petition to strengthen the laws around image-based abuse, particularly cases involving family or trusted parties. Within 3 days, we had 20,000 signatures. Within a week, over 100,000 news outlets picked it up. Podcasts invited me on. I did a virtual panel with lawyers, survivors, and advocates. For once, I didn't feel like the broken girl screaming into the void. One day, a local university invited me to speak on a panel for campus safety. I walked into a packed auditorium and felt something shift inside me, a quiet kind of power. Not the angry, burning kind. Something sturdier, cleaner. Midway through the event, I spotted Tyler in the back row. He didn't say anything. Just stared, arms crossed, jaw clenched. Afterward, security told me he tried to approach but was asked to leave. I watched him go through the tinted glass. He looked small. And for the first time ever, I felt safe. Karma didn't hit Tyler like a car crash. It was slower, quieter. More like a leak in the ceiling you pretend isn't there until it caves the roof in. Every few weeks, someone would send me a screenshot, a Reddit thread, a tweet, a Tumblr post, all dissecting his story, referencing my blog, the article, the petition. Even though I'd never named him, people figured it out. Friends of friends, classmates, mutuals, and once they did, they remembered things, cruel jokes, weird comments, crossed lines. One girl posted, "I remember him showing us a pic once and saying it was his ex. But now I'm not so sure. His face wasn't viral, but his reputation was. I heard through mutuals that every job interview he went to now ended the same way. HR would find the blog, the article, the digital trail he left behind. They wouldn't say anything directly. Just, we'll be in touch." But the calls never came. He tried to pivot, delete accounts, change usernames, start fresh. But the internet doesn't forget, and neither do the people you hurt. One of the most surreal moments came when a friend of mine matched with him on a dating app. A fake profile. Different name, same face. She sent me screenshots. I posted a PSA on my blog without saying his name, just, "Watch out for men who hide behind new masks." It got 60,000 shares in one night. The irony wasn't lost on me. The boy who once thought it was funny to rip away someone's privacy now had none left of his own. But here's the thing. I wasn't tracking him. I wasn't even looking anymore. The world was holding him accountable on its own. He taught me what it meant to feel exposed. Now, he lives in that shadow, and I never lifted a finger. It's been over a year since the verdict, and some days, it still feels like it happened yesterday. There are moments when I'll be brushing my teeth or folding laundry, and a flash of it all will hit me. The laughter in that group chat, my parents' silence, the courtroom lights buzzing above my head while I spilled everything. The weight never fully disappears, but it's lighter now, manageable. I started going to therapy not long after the blog gained traction. At first, I only talked about the case, the facts, the timeline. It took weeks before I said out loud, it wasn't just about the photos. It was about being invisible my entire life. My therapist nodded and said, "Exactly. I've rebuilt slowly. I've made new friends, surrounded myself with people who don't flinch when I speak my truth. I found comfort in advocacy, in sharing, in connecting with survivors who thought they were alone. And maybe most healing of all, I've learned how to sit with my pain without letting it swallow me. My parents still haven't apologized. I don't expect them to. I think part of them still believes this is all a phase I'll grow out of. That someday I'll come back to the family dinner table and pretend none of it ever happened. But that version of me, the one who shrank to keep the peace, she's gone. I don't need revenge anymore. I don't need Tyler to say sorry. What I needed was to reclaim myself. And I did. I keep the original screenshots in a locked folder, not because I revisit them, but because they're proof. Not of the crime, but of how far I've come. He took my privacy, so I took back my power, and I never plan to give it away again.